Apple Intelligence is almost here. Will it soon cost $2,000 a month?
Hello and welcome to the All Future Podcast. We talk about all kinds of things coming in the future. Today we're talking about the possibility of having to pay $2,000 a month for a good AI. And I tell you what I like about the number 2,000 is that if you multiply by 5, you get our subscriber number over 10,000. Pretty excited about
Solid
that.
transition
So
there.
thanks all you. Yeah, that was a good
was
transition.
good. Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I hope this math is right. So I think I nailed it. So thanks you guys for subscribing. Let's talk about this thing. All right, let's lay it out. Follow us on this journey, guys, and we'll see where we're going with this. Okay, is that it appears that OpenAI, the company, the nonprofit, I guess, not company necessarily. I guess it depends on how you want to word it, whatever. OpenAI, the originator of ChatGPT, they have a few new models coming out, supposedly incredibly more advanced than what we're seeing right now with GPT-4o. One of those is codenamed Strawberry, a name that I'm not crazy about.
Well, it's probably codenamed that because of the strawberry problem. Like maybe it solves that.
You're going to have to explain the strawberry problem.
Well, we talked about it in a previous one,
Yeah.
but I think it's strawberry has 3 R's in it. And
Right.
if you ask current models of most large language models, how many R's are in that word, it will answer 2 or 1. And that has to do with the tokenization of breaking up the words, and will only answer for one part of the word. And so it's this kind of problem that they're not able to fully solve yet. So that's probably what this name is referring to.
So look, do you want your LLM to always tell you how many R's are in strawberry? For the low price of $2,000 a month, this one's gonna nail it. But the real idea here is, it's the next iteration. It's more advanced, and it's going to be so much better that they are going to increase from the current $20 a month. Well, there'll still be the $20 a month kind of consumer tier, but then they're making this $2,000 a month tier really more for businesses, enterprise, government, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think about this, man?
I think it makes a lot of sense, but it's going to be on definitely the higher end, because it says this strawberry model, it's expected to launch in the fall sometime. It's going to be able to solve more complex tasks like math, advanced math, developing market strategies, conducting deep research. And when you think about this from a business perspective, let's say this could actually completely replace an employee. Take away all... any rejection you immediately have to that idea.
Did you just put on your dark corporate capitalist cyberpunk hat?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right.
So for a minute, just go through purely...
Picture you hate humanity.
Just picture you're running a business and don't have any feelings. $2,000 a month, if it could entirely replace what an employee does, is something that would make sense. And that's probably where they're going with this type of subscription, is that it could be up to that $2,000 tier. And we're assuming also that's like the highest, so less capability in between will somewhere be the price. But will Apple bring a $2,000 tier to Apple Intelligence? I don't think so.
Well, here's the question. This is what it's unclear to me if it's been out there and people have answered it. Is when I am using my soon-to-own brand new iPhone 16 Pro, and in another month or two when it actually has Apple Intelligence enabled on it, and I hit that multimodal button on the side, and it's something I need to bounce out to GPT for, what GPT model is it using? And is it using my current GPT subscription that I pay for, right?
Yeah.
Am I essentially signed in through the ecosystem there so that it's giving me what I normally get for that tier, which really at this point means more use cases, really. Like the free version of GPT-4o is there. You can use it for free right now. You just can't use it super often because you'll run out of time there. So, is that how it's going to work?
Yeah.
And in that case, if I am someone who subscribes to the $2,000 a month tier, is my iPhone going to just use that model? Like, am I going to pick that?
And will Apple make you charge it through the App Store and take 30%?
That is the next question, and I'm sure they have talked about this, right? Like, if you're going to have it that integrated, are you going to have like a push to subscribe thing built into iOS so that Apple can get their 30% cut? Maybe so, right? Like, and
Yeah.
if I'm ChatGPT, I'm thinking, oh, this could be a gold mine for us, right?
Yeah.
Not the $2,000 thing, but just the current $20 thing.
Mm-hmm.
We just talked in the other video about how more people than have ever used a generative AI or LLM are about to have it on a button on their phone, you know? And that's going to be a lot of people's kind of first introduction to it. They're going to start using it. And if it is working the way where it's limiting how much GPT usage you can get or whatever, you know, and you run out of instances you can use, and then a little button pops up and it's like, oh, if you want, I don't even know how much compute kind of time you get right now for $20 a month, but whatever it is, and they give you the little button to subscribe. I see people doing that, especially if you've been using it a lot, right? You start to use it and you're like, oh, this is cool. And then that message pops up and it's like, sorry. I forget how GPT words it, but it's like, try again later, your request, something like whatever it says. That could drive subscriptions. And if you put in these kind of more advanced features, right? And when we're talking about more advanced features, what is that going to actually be? If you're talking about something that can truly place a skilled employee, if we're going to go down that route, right? Is it someone that can do, I don't know, like financial bookkeeping for me, right? Is it an AI that can do financial bookkeeping for me, right? Because at $2,000 a month, I mean, that's what I pay my accountants and bookkeepers now for my business. You know, they're a third-party service. Like, it's not an employee of mine even, right? It's like it gets outsourced to these people. And so I'm like, oh, like I'm paying them that, and they're like a person that I have to like worry about if they're going to answer my emails and what priority am I on the thing. And if I can change that and switch it over to a subscription, $2,000 a month for a business to have that kind of thing. And you can, there's not just financial stuff, but you can go down a bunch of lists of things that are kind of like skilled things that, oh, this might not just take the place of one employee, but it might take the place of a whole, you know, column of your business.
Yeah. So that cost seems crazy from a consumer perspective, because it would be crazy if to get my GPT features on the level I want, I'm paying $2,000 a month. Absurd. But
you're a crazy person.
On the business side of things, yeah, it could be that, and that's absolutely what they're going to be aiming for, especially when they're going in with their new financing round this time. I think they're being valued by a bunch of different companies, including Microsoft and Apple, at about $100 billion. And NVIDIA is another investor, Thrive Capital, so many people going in with OpenAI. So very big things going into the future. And then they need a model for where they're going to make their money back.
Yeah, that is the thing right now. A company that, I mean, this is just a month or so ago, all the headlines are like, oh, like OpenAI is going to run out of cash. Like they're going to like hit the end of their runway, which is not that crazy for startups that like have these huge burn rates and stuff. But that still shows just the immense gulf between profitability and where they're at right now. And $20 a month isn't going to cut it. Like they're going to need to do things, like I mentioned, integrating the subscription thing into Apple or iOS, right, to get more consumers on that $20 a month. And then you got to go after the big fish too. You know, you got to have that higher number for the people who are ready to pay for it. So yeah, so $2,000 a month, I don't think that's absurd if they're delivering a product for businesses like that.
And yeah, I'm really curious about that rollout that you're talking about with how Apple Intelligence is going to work, because it'll be available right there. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple doesn't really want users to get that message that they've ran out of tokens or whatever for GPT. And so maybe they'll just eat it up front on like the first initial launch of Apple Intelligence.
That's what I wonder if is that what's going to happen? Like Apple's just going to pay, and you can basically, it's like a hack. If you want unlimited GPT-4o without paying for it, just use it through Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
That
could be their approach.
Absolutely might be what happened. Or maybe there's some kind of grace period for ChatGPT where they're like, oh, if you're a new iPhone user for the first 6 months, you get unlimited usage or something like that. Because it can't, man, their servers are about to get fried, dude. If they're offering, if just everyone gets it and it's just Wild West, right? I believe, like, you know, on average, Apple sells, I want to say it's like between like 220 and 260 million iPhone units a year.
And is that that's worldwide?
That's worldwide, right?
So these features are only coming U.S. English at first.
You can narrow it down or whatever. I mean, I think you can. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's 10 million. Yeah. Right? That's 10 million more people that's going to be the biggest influx of ChatGPT users ever when that Apple Intelligence feature is enabled, presumably in October. I hope they're building out some servers, man. Right?
Yeah.
Like so many people are going to use it, just to be dumb and see what it does.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're going to get slammed. And I'm sure they're thinking, we got to get the money back for this. So go away.
Yeah, so we'll see what Apple's runway is there, and then if it's going to integrate with your own GPT subscription, if you can buy it through as like an in-app purchase type
and I
of
would
thing.
want it to, right? Because I have so many. I mean, if you're a GPT user, you know it'll come up with
Yeah.
that thing memory saved or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it knows so much about you. So my GPT account actually knows a lot about current projects I'm doing, mostly renovation stuff and remodeling a house. So like that's what I use GPT for a lot. Just like measurements or questions about things or point me in the right direction. And I want that saved on my Apple Intelligence integration with it too, because I'm about to start using that little shortcut button all the time. So I'm going to want it to connect. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's a super interesting thing that we'll see going forward. But at this recent Apple event, they talked a lot about Apple Intelligence. And one of the kind of cool things I thought was something we'd seen, but they showed it even more, which is just awareness of your photos and videos and being able to search within that. So I think they gave an example of someone doing like a cartwheel or something, and it was able to track down photos, but it was also able to track down the actual moment in a video that happens, which is pretty, I think pretty remarkable as a feature.
Dude, that's awesome. And you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about my days like just chugging through edits like in like an Avid Avid editing software, and shooting some short film or commercial or something, and I'm like, man, I hope there's like a happy reaction from this actor here or something. And that's something I want. If I could have like just searched like happy smile from this actor, like oh, like that would like save me so much time. Like, so yeah, that is a really great feature. And I assume where you're heading with that is that Apple's biggest competition is basically enabling this as well on the Google side, right?
Yeah. Google announced a new Ask Photos feature, and I actually don't know what the timeline is here. Is this something that's already out? I guess we could assume that it's coming definitely earlier than Apple Intelligence. It seems to be the case across the board.
Yeah.
There's various arguments there as to if Apple's waiting and that's the better approach, or if they're just way behind and Google is going to release this and it's way better or whatever. But yeah, this is powered by Google AI Gemini, or Google's Gemini AI model.
There you go.
That's the proper term, I guess. And it allows you to do complex photo searches using natural language. And yeah, kind of the same exact thing that we saw from Apple, but it's coming from Google.
Yeah, it's essentially identical, except it's just working through people who use Google Photos. Cool. I think it's going to be neat. I think this is one of the things where AI can just a slight improvement to people's lives. You know, it's like, oh, this just makes it so much easier to just organize things and everything. And I've said this a lot, like what's cool about AI a lot of times isn't the super impressive, flashy stuff. It's the taking away the drudgery of dealing with our digital lives. Like we've built up this crazy thing where like people, like everyone has to be like a data management expert almost on like how to find things and store things and where they're at, and making them like bringing them forward to present them to people and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. And AI's pretty good at just taking all that work away and being like, oh, you wanted the best picture from your third birthday party? No problem, I got it right here.
Yeah. They also showed at the Apple event, so I'm assuming Google's going to have basically this exact feature, doing that kind of search for a very specific thing, but then making like a memory of it. So it stitches everything together in a smarter way than just throwing photos back to back to back from an album or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be able to actually get the moment and understand it a lot more, which I'm excited about because I don't really tend to use those features because it's like, it's very automatic, and then it's not super customizable. So you kind of end up with a product that you don't really want or want to share.
Yeah, I mean, you can get in there and mess with it and like change it out, but it's a pain. It's not cool. And man, my mom loves making these things, man. She sends me these videos all the time. Every time she goes on a little trip with my dad anyway, all these pictures. And inevitably, she'll send me the little movie, and it's playing some goofy sentimental song, and it's a beautiful landscapes or whatever they're at. And then all of a sudden a photo will come up, and it's like the screenshot of her hotel room or something, and then just like slow Ken Burns into this like crazy song. Like, what the heck is this? So like, so that's what the AI is gonna be much better at, right? And doing it like through a whole library is gonna be really cool because you can do things like, hey, like I want happy pictures of all of my kids' birthdays, right? And it can go and just like it'll know what you mean by your kids and who that is.
Mm-hmm.
It knows what happy is. It knows what a birthday is. It can stitch it all together. Instant good product.
Yeah. One thing I think this Google thing really points out, though, is just the difference that we're going to see with Apple Intelligence versus other companies moving forward with this, especially ones like Google, because they specifically emphasize in this press release about these features that they are not using user data in photos to use ad targeting. And that's one of those things that the fact that they have to specify that even is already a concern for people.
And then half the people don't even believe them.
They're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're not ad targeting.
Sure, you're not. Well, and the thing is, like, I bet they're not actually using the photo data, right? But they're 100% using the overall action of it, right? Like they're tracking, oh, this person is in the Photos app right now, right? And then in your kind of profile that Google maintains of every human on the planet that uses Google, which is everyone, is going to go, oh, every October 15th, this person's sentimental and looks through photos. I'm adding that to like the profile I have on them and what ads to serve, you know, like, and that's, guys, this is what these ad things do. I mean, this is common knowledge, right? These algorithms are like monitoring online behavior in like a macro way to build patterns so they can serve you better ads. And so while I think I trust Google here that it's actually, they're not going to go, oh, this person has a lot of photos of lawnmowers, let's serve them lawnmower ads, right? But it is going to overall still build a pattern of your use that Google is going to use to target you for ads. Because this is true too. Like Google's like, the restrictions they give to third-party advertisers are much more strict than they give to themselves. So like if, you know, everyone who uses Chrome, like all this kinds of, like so much data is being pumped toward Google from that stuff. So I think you're going to see the usual information given to Google, but nothing different. And like I've said here many, many times, nothing you do online is private anyway, ever, or nothing you do electronically, even is ever private, ever. Just don't expect that and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah. But I think it's crazy to imagine that future because I think people just trust Apple more because they don't even have to specify this. It's like, we know the business you were in, Google, and you're going to look at all my photos with AI and it's not going to directly feed into your main business. Like, okay.
How are you paying for this?
Like I actually do believe them on that. Like you're saying that they are saying they're not going to do that. So they're not going to do that. But it's one thing for them to need to defend that or whatever and specify it versus Apple, who it's like, we're not going to use it for ad targeting. Of course not. Why
we don't need
do
to
that?
Because you just paid us $1,000 for this phone, sucker.
Exactly.
So they don't even care, right?
Yeah. It's all going to come down to how well these features work in the future, because a lot of companies are delivering things already, but they're kind of spotty in how they work. And so people immediately don't trust them. I mean, I see a lot of people who already, I kind of tell them how useful GPT can be for like, especially researching or searching things, coming up with ideas, brainstorming, and then you pick and choose from what it gives you. And they just immediately are like, no, I have my methods. It's not going to be better than whatever. And have you seen the answers and the fact that it's not reliable? It's like, okay, yeah, but there's a lot of good in there. Yeah. And so
don't use it to fact check something.
Yeah.
Like that's not what it's designed for. That's not what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, even though that's the balance, is like a lot of these companies, it seems like they're almost telling you can do that and you can trust these answers, but you can't trust them, and there's the little descriptor at the bottom. But yeah, Apple's probably going to be late on a lot of this stuff. They're going to deliver these photo features after they've already been available on Google phones. And it's just a question of, will they work for real once Apple delivers them?
Absolutely.